endocrine system. So endocrine is a system of ductless glands that secrete hormones. Hormones are called messenger molecules. They circulate in blood. They act on distant, far away target cells. Target cells respond to hormones for which they have receptors. The cells are dependent on the programmed response of the target cells. Hormones, they are just molecular triggers. The basic categories of hormones: you have amino acid based, which is modified amino acids or amines, peptides, short chains of amino acids, and proteins, long chains of amino acids. And then you have the steroids. Steroids are lipid molecules derived from cholesterol. As you can see, steroid hormones can directly go into the cell because they are lipid based. Protein hormones, they need to be catched by the receptor first, and then the secondary receptor will kind of trigger or cascade a movement into the inner part of the cell. So mean that protein hormones do not enter the cell, they only trigger the response from the outside. Endocrine organs. We have pure endocrine organs and endocrine organs in other you have endocrine cells in other organs. Purely endocrine organs, they are organs that actually exist just to create hormones such as pituitary gland, pineal gland, thyroid, parathyroid, and adrenal. So adrenal, both of those are actually in your kidney. You have the cortex and medulla. Endocrine cells in other organs involve pancreas, thymus, gonads, and hypothalamus. So mechanism of hormone release: you have humoral, you have neural, and you have hormonal. Humoral will respond to any changes within the blood. That's why the name is humoral. Humoral means that there is the fluids within your body. Neural, stimulation by the nerves, means that when your nerves tell the gland to do something, then it will do the thing. Okay, it will release the hormones. Hormonal. So this type of thing is where you have hormone, and then the hormone will trigger another hormone. So these glands, they would be responding to hormones secreted by other glands. So that's why you have hormonal stimulation received from other hormones. So as you can see here, in this slide you have three endocrine organs. One is hypothalamus, one is pituitary, and one is pineal. So all three of them are actually in the midbrain. Deep inside of the brain you have this stalk. She looks like an alien head. Okay, you have hypothalamus, and then you have the pituitary, which is front and back. Front is anterior, back is posterior. And where is the pineal gland? The pineal gland is at the back of that structure. How small is the pituitary gland? As you can see a walnut, you can see peanuts, and then you can see green pea. So a pituitary gland is just 1 cm across, so it is half the size of a peanut. The pituitary gland has two divisions. You have the front and the back. The front is anterior, the back is posterior. So the pituitary gland, it sits in the hypophyseal fossa. Fossa means that it is an opening or a gap. Depression is sella trucica of sphenoid. Sphenoid is the bone in the skull, which is called the butterfly wedge. And then it releases 9 hormones. Some of them are released by the anterior, and some of them are from the posterior. Anterior will release TSH, ACTH, FSH, LH. So all of these hormones, they are tropic hormones. These hormones control other hormones. Okay, for example, you have TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. This one controls the release of thyroid. Next will be ACTH, adrenal corticoid thyroid hormone. So this would kind of control your stress. FSH, follicle stimulating hormones. This one would involve your gonads. Okay, telling your testicles or telling your ovary to do meiosis. LH, this one would be much more for men it is for ejaculation, for women it is for the period. Okay, so all of these control other hormones. Then you have GH, PRL, and MSH. GH is growth hormone. You need it to grow. Without it, you will stay a child forever. PRL is prolactin. In men, it doesn't work. In women, it is working for releasing milk, prolactin. Okay. And then posterior pituitary. So posterior pituitary releases ADH and oxytocin. ADH is antidiuretic hormone. it is the hormone that lowers your urine output so that you would restore or you keep the water inside the body. Oxytocin is for a lot of things. One example would be for milk production, and another is for giving birth. All of these letters stand for the name. TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. ACTH, adrenal corticotropic hormone. FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. LH, luteinizing hormone. TH, growth hormone. Prolactin. MSH, melanocyte stimulating hormone. So if you look at the name, melanocytes are cells on your skin that create melanin. So if you are a Caucasian or if you are an European, you will not have a lot of this hormone be released, so you will be a little bit pale. But once you go to a very sunny country like us, okay, like Malaysia, what happens is that the sunlight will simulate the MSH to create even more melanin, so the skin will be much more tanned. And then you have ADH, antidiuretic hormone, and then you have oxytocin. So what does the pituitary hormones do? The four topic ones regulate the function of other hormones. TSH, stimulating thyroid to produce thyroid hormone. So thyroid is another organ. The thyroid is an organ that is in your neck. So they will release thyroid hormone. So TSH tells the thyroid to create thyroid hormone. Okay. ACTH, it is for the adrenal cortex. So if you look at the name, adrenal corticotropic. Adrenal cortico. So both of these are actually on your kidneys. One is okay, if you can see the adrenal gland in your kidneys. One of them is on the medulla. One of them is in the cortex. So they will create corticosteroids such as aldosterone and cortisol. FSH stimulate follicle growth and ovarian estrogen production, and also in men it stimulates sperm production and androgen binding protein. Okay, LH has a role in ovulation and growth in a corpus luteum, stimulates androgen secretion by interstitial cells in testes. So FSH and LH, they would do different functions in different genders. So from the pituitary posterior, in the back, you have the ADH, antidiuretic hormone, aka vasopressin. It is for reclaiming water into the kidney, okay, so to raise the blood pressure. Oxytocin, it is so that the womb can contract, so that the baby will be pushed out. Other than that, it can also eject milk from the breast. Okay, as you can see in this table is much more complete. You have all of the hormones, okay, and you have the target cells, and then also you have the effects. So all of these actually are the what do you call it? They are the condensed version of what I just told you. Okay, so now try and remember the anatomy. Okay, so to remember the anatomy, you must try to relate the shape with a shape that you already know. Okay, so you can see that the pituitary gland, what does it look like? So it looks like a upside down heart, but one part is bigger than the other. So as you can see, the front part of the pituitary gland is smaller than the back. So remember, if you want to draw a pituitary gland, you must be able to draw a heart, okay, but draw it upside down, and remember that the front is smaller than the back. So it's roughly like this. We have the anterior, we have the posterior. Okay. The thyroid gland. This gland, it is on the front of your neck. So anterior neck, on trachea, just inferior to larynx. Larynx is your throat. So it is just below your throat and is in front of your neck, on the trachea. So the lobes are side by side, so it is called lateral lobes. And an isthmus means that you have a really narrow opening, or like a narrow bridge. You know, remember the Isthmus of Kra? The Isthmus of Kra is this small strip of land that connects Malaysia to Thailand. Okay, you have Patani there, you have Phuket there. So that small strip of land is called isthmus. So as you can see, the isthmus is here, because you have one on the side, one on the other side, and in the middle you have the bridge. So this produces two hormones. First of all is the thyroid hormone. It is thyroxine based with 3 or 4 iodine molecules. So you have T4 thyroxine and T3. And then you have also calcitonin. Calcitonin involved with calcium and phosphorus metabolism. Thyroid is composed of spherical follicles. So follicles are actually small holes where things come out of, like your sweat, like your hair. You have hair follicle. The hair comes out from that hole. So the follicle cells, if you can see, they are round. They produce thyroglobulin. The thyroglobulin is like the level 1 version of the thyroid hormone. So they are not actually ready yet. So it is something like a precursor. And then you have the colloid lumen has thyroglobulin. So as you can see, colloid. What does it mean? Colloid are actually what's called something that is murky. It is not dark. It is a little bit bright color, but it is murky. For example, if you look at water is clear, right? But if you have something suspended in the water and it makes the water not clear, something like cloudy, milky, so we call it a colloid. So within the colloid you have the thyroglobulin and you have the parafollicular C cells. They will produce calcitonin. So as you can see here, this is what you call the negative feedback. Okay, but in this case, the negative feedback, it forms a loop. I mean that is always being controlled, always being adjusted. Okay, always being in a loop, mean that it will not end. So as of what we have learned in chapter 4, first of all, you have a thing that will decrease. For example, your blood osmosis decreases or your blood pH decreases. Okay, and then a certain area on the brain will sense that decrease, and then the hormone is released, and the hormone will stimulate the release of another hormone, and that other hormone stimulates the release of hormone it was sensed to be decreased in the first place, causing it to increase to the desired level. In that you have first of all you have a thing that is increased in your blood. Part of brain detects it. Then that part of brain releases a hormone to release another hormone. Then that other hormone will release something or do something that lowers the number of that hormone is decreased. Mean that it will not be increasing anymore. For example, you have the thyroid hormone. So thyroxine is the hormone. Okay, it is needed so that you can burn energy. What you call it, metabolism. And then when it goes so low, hypothalamus will detect it. So when hypothalamus detects it, it will release TRF, thyroxine releasing factor. So this TRF goes where? It goes to this organ called the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland will release TSH from anterior pituitary. TSH is a thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay. And then what will happen is that thyroid gland will release more and more T4 and T3 follicles. Okay. What happens is that T4 and T3 increases. Okay. So now because of that, the TRH will stop being released. It increases your basal metabolic rate, meaning that how fast you burn energy. So if you look at a mouse would constantly be looking for food, constantly eating, because it is constantly burning a lot of energy. If you look at a healthy man would release energy and get energy from eating at a balanced level. But for person who are obese, he would input a lot of food, a lot of nutrients, but he doesn't spend that energy a lot. So the metabolism, you can say that their metabolism are low, meaning that whatever food that they eat, it is not spent by the body. Instead, it is stored as fat. So the thing is, this thyroid hormone, it involves many parts of the body. Okay, some part of the body would be affected by this by certain different mechanisms. For example, protein synthesis, then bone growth, neuronal maturation, and also cell differentiation. Because energy is the currency within your body. No energy means that no work or no development. The effects of calcitonin. So the calcitonin is secreted from thyroid parafollicular C cells when calcium blood levels are high. So it will tell the body to absorb all of this extra calcium. How? It slows the calcium releasing activity of osteoclasts in bone and increasing calcium secretion by the kidney. So meaning that secretion by the kidney, you have even more urine coming out of your urine. And the osteoclast, it is some cells that sacrifice your bone to release calcium, because calcium is needed as a currency for things to get into your cell and also for your muscle cells to move. So you need calcium always in the blood. If you don't have enough calcium, calcitonin will be lowered, and then osteoclast will sacrifice a lot of your bones to release calcium, as you can see on the picture on the top right. The parathyroid glands. Most people have 4. So as you can see, the thyroid gland is this H-shaped thing. The parathyroid glands, they are these small dots on top of the thyroid gland. Okay, so you have 2 types of cells. You have the chief cells, then you have the oxyphil cells. The chief cells produce PTH, which is called the parathyroid hormone or parathormone. So it is a very small protein hormone. So where are the chief cells? Chief cells are like this. These are chief cells. Then you have oxyphil cells, not known what they actually do. Okay, so as you can see, chief cells, there are many inside of the parathyroid hormone. And then within it you have the blood capillary, so that this chief cell can dump their content into it. Then you have the oxyphil cell just sticking on the blood capillary. So function of PTH. When your blood calcium goes too low, the PTH will increase the blood calcium. So what will happen is that your bones actually are made out of calcium. So PTH tells these osteoclast cells to dig in and release the Ca++ from the bone and decrease the secretion of Ca++ from kidney and activates vitamin D. So what happens is that your body will actually absorb and keep and create more calcium, so that you have more calcium within your body. So it is very important for calcium to be in your body, because it is a currency for cells, it is a currency for muscle movement. So if you accidentally release it during thyroidectomy, thyroidectomy, ectomy means cutting, means that you have a swollen thyroid, you move it, and suddenly you accidentally remove the parathyroid hormone, it will be lethal, because what will happen is that you will lose and lose and lose calcium, and there's no way for you to rise it up again. Okay. Adrenal glands. Adrenal, or called suprarenal glands. Why they call it suprarenal? Because it is on top of the kidney. Each is really 2 endocrine glands. You have adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. Cortex is the outer, medulla is the inner. So these both of the glands, they create unrelated chemicals, but they all help with extreme situations. Adrenal cortex will secrete lipid-based steroid hormones called corticosteroids. Corticoid as in cortex. Mineralocorticoids would have aldosterone. Glucocorticoids, we have cortisol or hydrocortisone. So as you can see on the top right, the corticosteroid cream blocks the production of substances that trigger allergic and inflammatory actions. Meaning that whenever you get stomach bee, whenever you get allergic reaction from whatever, from dust, from seafood, what happens is that you will inflame. You have inflammation, you have itchiness, and then you start to weep, you start to sneeze. So if you apply some corticosteroid cream, this corticosteroid cream will stop any substances that trigger inflammatory responses. It will tell your cells to just chill out. Okay, do not do anything, do not overreact. So the one on the bottom right is called the EpiPen. So EpiPen is it looks like a pen. Actually within it you have a very long needle inside. There's a needle inside. When people get allergic reactions, most of them life-threatening, they actually need to get the corticosteroid inside of the body fast. So EpiPen has a long needle inside within it. So when you get attacked by a allergic, what happens is that you grab an EpiPen and then you jab it into your main vessel, like your brachial vessel, okay, like the vessel on your wrist. So to apply all of this corticosteroid within that blood vessel so that you can be cured, it can be restored back to the non-allergic condition. Because if you don't, then the allergic reaction can actually cause you to have blood shock. Okay, you can have anaphylaxis, so you actually don't want that. Your organs will shut down one by one. So EpiPen is actually saving lives of many allergic people around the world. So adrenal medulla secretes epinephrine and norepinephrine. Okay, so the thing is, for epinephrine, it will tell any cell that it contacts to actively move, okay, fight, secrete. Okay, so when your heart stops, okay, the paramedic comes in. So the paramedic, if they really want you to be resuscitated, okay, CPR doesn't work, okay, defibrillation doesn't work, so they can actually get an epinephrine. They will jab it directly into your heart. So epinephrine will actually cause the heart muscle to beat again. Okay, that's the power of epinephrine. It will actually tell the heart to stop to beat again. Okay, so it is one of the emergency measures for somebody who has been collapsed. Aldosterone is the main mineralocorticoid secreted by adrenal cortex in response to decline of either blood volume or blood pressure. So when do you lose blood pressure? It is when you get stabbed, okay, a lot of blood is gushing out of your wound, okay, you're losing blood, so it's what's called severe hemorrhage. So it is seminal hormone in the renin-angiotensin mechanism. So it prompts distal and collecting tubules in the kidney to absorb more sodium. So when sodium is absorbed, water will follow. Okay, so when water is following, mean that the water will be retained. There will be less urine, and then there will be more water within your blood. So it will increase the blood volume. So cortisol, it is the most important glucocorticoid. So glucocorticoid receptors are found in a lot of your cells. Okay, so the thing is, if you ask a psychologist would say cortisol is the stress hormone. Actually, that's correct. Okay, so it is essential for life, because when you have any stress, cortisol actually helps you focus. Okay, it delivers more energy to you. Okay, it delivers it heightens your red blood cells rate, increases your breathing. Okay, mean that it is how you cope against stress. Okay. So cortisol helps the body deal with stressful situations within minutes. Physical, like trauma, surgery, exercise; physiological, anxiety, depression, or crowding; physiological, fasting, hypoglycemia, fever, and infection. So it regulates and supports a variety of important cardiovascular, metabolic, immunologic, and homeostatic functions, including water balance. So if you don't have enough cortisol, mean that you have adrenal insufficiency, these stresses can actually cause you to die. Okay, you can have hypotension, you can have shock, and then you must be given glucocorticoids for surgery or if you have infection. Because without cortisol, without this stress hormone, you are unable to adapt with changing situations. Okay, you'll be something like a robot. Okay, error, you cannot function, then you just explode. Okay, but humans are able to handle stress. So as you can see in this picture, fight or flight. When there is a tense situation, breathing will become faster, the heart beats faster and stronger, you can hear it pounding, blood pressure rises, muscle tense for action, hands and feet becomes cold and sweaty, and mouth gets dry. So all of these are actually to prepare you to any action, so you can move faster, you can be stronger during that time, because your physiology has been boosted by the adrenaline and also by the cortisol. Okay. In a stress situation, Hypothalamus will secrete hormone CRH. CRH will stimulate ACTH secreted in hypophyse. So ACTH will activate hormones in adrenals. Cortisol and adrenaline rush through the body. So adrenaline will make the body alert. So cortisol continued. Cortisol will keep blood glucose supply high enough to support the brain's activity. So it forces other body cells to switch to fats and amino acids as energy sources. So your brain will call dibs to all of the glucose within your body. You suck all of the sugar because it needs it. Catabolic means that it will break down protein, means that whatever protein you have in your body will be broken down into sugar, into glucose. So any lymphocytes which are circulating, they will redirect to lymphoid and peripheral tissues where pathogens usually are. Okay, so lymphocyte will go and attack that pathogen. In large quantities, it will depress immune and inflammatory response. So usually it is used for people who have problems with allergic. Okay, so people who are allergic, they have raw rashes. They don't want this. Okay, they have a lot of sneezing. Okay, it is very annoying. So when you apply cortisol to them, all of this will stop. Okay, so it is used therapeutically and responsible for some of its side effects. So how does stress work? So you have something that's called HPA axis, hypothalamic, pituitary, and adrenal axis. With stress, hypothalamus will send CRH to anterior pituitary, which is the adeno hypophysis. Pituitary gland will secrete ACTH. ACTH goes to adrenal cortex where it simulates glucocorticoid secretion. Sympathetic nervous system can also simulate it. Adrenal cortex also secretes DHEA, dehydroepiandrosterone. So this will convert it in the peripheral tissue to testosterone and estrogen. The thing is, this DHEA, it will convert into testosterone and estrogen. So it's really unsure whether it actually has links or have a relation to stress, because testosterone is for manliness, estrogen is for womanliness. So it's not really sure, but it is what it is. It is what happened. In general, steroid secreting cells have a abundant smooth ER because they have to create a lot of lipid. Because if you wanna remember from your SEM 1, ER, which is smooth, is for creating lipids. Rough ER will create proteins. Steroids directly diffuse across plasma membrane, so it is not exocytosis. So it means that it can just be secreted out without any energy. And if you have a cell with abundant lipid droplets, a lot of balls of fat, like when you see on the bottom left, meaning that that's a cell that releases the steroid secreting cells. Why? Because lipids is the raw material from which steroids are made. Adrenal medulla, it is part of the autonomic nervous system. Within it you have the spherical chromaffin cells, which are modified postganglionic sympathetic neurons. Meaning that you have a neuron that is directly commanding the cells what to do. Okay, from neuron to hormone. So it will secrete epinephrine and norepinephrine, which are amine hormone. So the release will be on 3 conditions: fight, flight, or fright. I mean that if you watch any action movie, or if you watch any horror movie, or if you watch any thriller movie, all of these responses that you will give will all be stemmed from this part, adrenal medulla, which will create adrenaline. So vesicles would store the hormones. The pineal gland. So the pineal gland is at the back of your brain stem. Okay, it has pinealocytes with dense calcium particles. It can be seen in X-ray because of the calcium 2++. The pineal gland, it has control in your circadian rhythm, meaning that you know what is day, what is night. And because we are diurnal animals, diurnal means day, so our body behaves differently in darkness and in light. So our bodies are active during the light, during the day, and our body becomes much more inactive and much more restful during the night or dark. So it is controlled by a hormone that is released by the pineal gland called the melatonin. So the melatonin helps regulate your biological clock. So the thing is, for biological clock, it actually happens when it's not the time that your irises or your retina detects sunlight. If your retina detects sunlight, then melatonin will not be secreted, so you will be awake. But once you block sunlight or any light from your retina, you cover your eyes, you try to use a blindfold, okay, you turn off your lights, maybe you put up your curtains, then melatonin will start to be secreted because it thinks that it is night. So the body will automatically go into rest mode. Okay, so one way to sleep soundly is that you should not turn on any light during sleep, especially blue light. Okay, turn off all lights, make it as dark as possible so that you can sleep, so that the melatonin will be released by pineal gland and it will cause your body to become much more restful. The pancreas are both exocrine and endocrine cells, so it can release hormones outside of the blood vessel and also inside of the blood vessels. So within it you have the acinar cells forming most of the pancreas. These acinar cells do the exocrine function. It will release enzymes but not into the blood vessel. Where does it release it? It releases it into the intestine. Then you have the islet cells of Langerhans. It is doing the endocrine function, meaning that it will release hormones just into the blood vessels. So where is the pancreas? The pancreas is lower than your liver, so you should touch your right thumb and right pinky fingers together, keeping your other three fingers together straight, and then place your hand in the center of your belly just below the lower ribs, with your fingers pointing to the left. Your hand will be the approximate shape and at the approximate level of the pancreas. So within the pancreatic islet cell, there are alpha cells and beta cells. Alpha cells secrete glucagon. Glucagon will turn sugar, will raise the amount of sugar, meaning that from glycogen becomes sugar. It will raise the sugar level. Beta cells lower sugar level by increasing the insulin levels. So when beta cell release insulin, the sugar level in your blood will be low. Also rare, you have the delta cells. Delta cells secrete somatostatin, which inhibits the glucagon. The gonads. The gonads will be what's called the sex cells or sex organs. So each one of these sex organs have their own set of hormones that they release. Some of them are different, some of them are the same. Testicles, the interstitial cell that secrete androgens, and primary androgen is testosterone. Testosterone is to maintain secondary sex characteristics and promote sperm formation. Ovaries, the androgens are secreted by the thecal folliculi, directly converted to estrogens by follicular granulosa cells. Granulosa cells also produce progesterone. And corpus luteum, aka the part that degenerates after ovum is released, also release estrogen and progesterone. Endocrine cells and various organs. The heart has an atrial natriuretic peptide. So as you can see the name, atrial, it is from the atrium. Natriuretic. Natri means natrium or salt. Uretic means, urine. Peptide, it is something like precursor of the protein. So it stimulates the kidney to secrete more salts to decrease excess blood volume, high BP and high blood sodium concentration. What does it mean? It means that when you secrete more salt, water will come out. So mean that the blood volume will be less. Blood pressure will be less. Blood sodium will also be less. If you want to compare before and after, your heart will actually be much more restful because with high blood pressure, with blood volume which is high and high blood concentration of sodium, it actually causes the heart to strain. So the NP is released so that the heart will not be strained. It will tell the kidney, please help me, there's too much for me to pump. Okay, something like that. Yatra and derivative, you have the DNES. So what does it mean? It is a system where the the nerves and endocrine systems are meshed together. So DNES this system is similar to a brain. You have a lot of nerve cells, but also it has endocrine system. So this here has its own activity. Okay, it just controls intestinal movement and release of digestive enzyme and mutates into bowel cancer cells. And so this DNAS is not really controlled by the brain. It is actually controlled by itself. Okay, meaning that your digestive system has its own brain that thinks and controls its own hormones. So these cells are the ones that mutate into bowel cancer cells. And then you have the placenta. The baby itself, it is an organ that releases hormone, especially estrogen, progesterone. Why is it? Because progesterone, it maintains the level of the placenta. You know, placenta is the connection between the mother and the baby. So this placenta will release progesterone so that the placenta will stay. If you don't, placenta will be severed, it will cut, and then the baby will just be aborted. Okay, other than that, the placenta also secretes CRH, corticotropin releasing hormone, which is the stress hormone. Mean that the baby itself, they create stress for the mother, they release the stress hormone. And then you have HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin. HCG is for the baby to grow within the body, okay, especially the gonads. The kidney has juxtagranular cells which secrete renin. So if you look at the previous slides, the kidney was involved in adrenaline, but only on the adrenal medulla on top of it. But this one, it is the kidney cells themselves. Okay, so kidney cells themselves will release renin. Renin will secrete adrenal cortex to secrete aldosterone. And also it has erythropoietin, EPO. EPO will signal bone marrow to increase RBC production. Means that you don't have enough blood, it will signal bone marrow to increase more blood. The skin has a lot of cholesterol with UV exposure that becomes vitamin D precursor. Meaning that by exposing yourself to sunlight, you can create your own vitamin D. Why? Because we actually create this hormone that is a precursor of vitamin D. So vitamin D is necessary for calcium metabolism. So when you take a lot of vitamin D, it will tell the body to absorb a lot of calcium from the food. So there are some diseases caused by imbalanced hormones. You have gigantism, too much GH in childhood; acromegaly, too much GH in adulthood; pituitary dwarfs, too little growth hormone in adulthood; and diabetic insipidus, too much ADH. So this is a very famous wrestler named Paul Donald White, or Big Show. So Big Show used to have acromegaly, which is a disease of endocrine system. So he's so big that by age of 12, he's 1.88 meters tall, weighed 100 kg and had chest hair. And another one, he was member of the Wichita State University basketball team at the age of 19, standing tall at 7 feet and 1 inches, which is 2.16 meters. So in the early 1990s, he underwent successful surgery on his pituitary gland to stop the progress of his condition. His shoe size is 18, ring size is 22, and chest is 160 cm in circumference. So in 2005, he hired a bus because it is very hard for him to actually get on planes and also cars. Because for planes, the ceiling of the plane is not really high or tall, so he cannot fit into the plane. Also, if you look at planes, the seats are not really made for somebody that big for him, so he had to lease his own bus. Now for the other part of the spectrum, this is Andy Malanakis. He is a comedian, he is a singer, he's a rapper, he's also a writer. So he has a problem where he doesn't have any growth hormones. Without any growth hormones, somebody will not grow. So Andy Malanakis, despite being around 40 years old, he is still childlike. He still looks like a young boy. Not just that, he sounds like a young boy. So if you look at the show Andy Malanakis show, he plays a 12-year-old kid. Okay, so Early in life, he was subjected to frequent prejudice indifference to disorder, but he has strong hope for biology to provide a cure. So, not just GH is not created, he doesn't also create testosterone. So, meaning that he never reached the sexual maturity of a normal man. So, from young age until age 22, he took testosterone, thyroxine, and cortisol. He went through puberty and he stopped treatment because it gave him depression. So, due to no testosterone, doesn't have any sex drive or interest to women. So, you have diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus will be high blood sugar levels over a prolonged period due to either pancreas not creating insulin or the body not responding to insulin. So, the pancreas not producing enough insulin, it is called diabetes type 1. You are born with it because you are mutated. So, mean that when you're born with it, since a young age, you actually have to jab yourself with insulin shots so that your body can convert all of this extra sugar into glycogen. But for number 2, if you take too much sugar, your body will actually become resistant to sugar and also resistant to insulin. So whatever you have a lot of blood sugar, insulin will tell your body to keep this sugar down, turn it into glycogen, but your body does not respond to it, so the blood sugar will increase. For thyroid, we have hyperthyroidism. Commonest will be the Graves' disease. So Graves' disease is an autoimmune disease where your own white blood cell is attacking your thyroid. Hypothyroidism in childhood, it leads to cretinism. Mean that you will have dwarfism. Endemic goiter from insufficient iodine diet. So in this case, if you do not have enough diet that has iodine, then hypothyroidism will happen because thyroid needs iodine to work. So that's why it is called endemic. It can be found in a lot of places where iodine is not available. If you have adult hypothyroidism or myxedema, it is actually an autoimmune disease. Your body is fighting itself. Other than that, you have Cushing syndrome. Cushing syndrome is caused by an ACTH secreting pituitary tumor, rarely by a tumor of adrenal cortex. It is iatrogenic, so meaning that you were okay before, but after treatment, after advice to a patient or with corticosteroid treatment, suddenly Cushing syndrome happens. Why? Because you have too much corticosteroids within your body and it wrecks your system. So before and after Cushing disease. Addison disease. Addison disease is hyposecretion of adrenal cortex. So meaning that your adrenal cortex is actually not creating a lot of cortisol, also a lot of aldosterone. It means that you actually cannot respond to stress, and also your water balance in your body is really imbalanced. I mean that you keep releasing water, you don't have enough water. So you have low blood glucose and sodium, you have severe dehydration, you're thirsty all the time because your body cannot keep the water in your body, so you keep drinking. Then you have fatigue, loss of appetite, and also abdominal pain. The end.